we are trying to speak about traces that are left everywhere by humans during our daily life, while some other traces are totally imbricated in the faith from which or in which they transpire. Starting from Peirce's tripartition of sign, we turn our attention to index, such as those type of signs causally connected with their object. Quoting Peirce in Umberto Eco 2016, indexicality opens its territory by expanding presential option of the object or reference and allowing the introduction of an indirect but imbricated correlation between expression and content. Still quoting Eco, the presence of the object is not necessary for the sign to signify, although it is required to verify the use of the sign in an act of reference. The topotensivity inherent in the indexes highlight the spatial relationship that builds the semantic pathway, which propitiates different directional movement and has various dynamic possibilities. Chronotensivity, on the other hand, emphasizes the temporal relation which can take backwards or proximal routes. A trace can therefore be read as a sign that makes it possible to return to the origin or as an indication yielding a new route. Motivation versus arbitrariness seems to be one of the driving forces behind circumstantial research. The trace as the motivated result of an underlying content, the trace as the motivator of a developing content ex post facto. A certain phenomenon, a sign, a set of signs, can constitute not only a model, but rather the basis on which a model is established. Approaching the traces implies a prior work of pertinentization and therefore observation, delimitation, argumentation. The outcome is a punctilious work of questioning not only the cause-effect linearity, but also the logic underlying the sign, for example, the constitution of text and of space. So we actually entered the semiotics of the body as text and archive as a space of figural memory resulting from a process of synchronic contact and diachronic reading of an echo of matter that refracts on itself and dissipates in the words of a spongy face imbued with penetrating magnitude. Thinking of the face as a space of discourse, as the writing of a tale and narrative sign, does nothing other than propose the analytical gaze and opening scopic, inclusive of the stories already experienced. A summing up, quoting Fontanille 2003, from the perspective of the semiotic of text and discourse, the body is first and foremost a site of meaning, and of a meaning that shapes from the sensation and impressions that this body experiences in contact with the world. We can change the tableau. Thank you, Remo. Phenomenological and ontological references are often necessary to bring attention back to the becoming of material science. The construction and deconstruction of the subject through its traces to the constitution of the trace personality. The nude of the complex machinery that compose our face, expression and name, vibration and trace, there remains the neutral that is intrinsically expressive versatility, collection of immanent memory, secularized sediment of inadvertent power. So as we can see, we did like a tripartition that considered the trace following three primaries, if not exclusive, lines of investigation. But before this, we have to make also a point about art system and the artistic paradigm as a model through which reality is approached and treated in accordance with criteria of intuition and freedom, and by reference to a specific modellist system that is, in terms of Lotman, quoting a structure of elements and rules of their combinations, existing in a state of fixed analogy to the whole sphere of the object of perception, cognition, or organization. The content of art as modeling system is the word of reality translated to the language of our consciousness, translated in turn to the language of the given form of art. So, summing up, we consider 3 lines of traces. We start from the second first, so we focus on the first because it's the most inherent to our panel about artificial faces. On the basis of the semiotic of the face is in inclusive assonance with semiotic of the body. We have already seen the idea of the body for Fontanille, and in a specificity the witness body, and elaborating it further in line with our criteria of those of other author or reference. So in the second model, we see as traces on or in the face. This model deals with the face in dialogue with first and foremost with its own circumscribed material form, with the well-known syntactical feature both in the combination of reading the sign of the face on the basis of physiognomy or other pseudoscience, and in the inscription of new sign, the trace is preponderantly an element of memory. Its element inhabit the organic microorganism, which, in the provision of a paradigm as well as syntagmatic reading of the figurativeness of the face, is then immersed in the authentication of the evidence of the state. The articulation of the face is a witness of contact enunciated, autopoietic resources, the filiation of intimate inscription whose vision and interpretation is crucial. We see an example of an artist, Jorit, that make this special portrait with a specific sign in the face of the people portrait. And it's a question of matter, said also Fontanille, that is subject to force, balance with the given that take form. In this example, the artists make this kind of signs as the pertinence of to a tribe, and for going deeper in this kind of performance, he made just a few months ago a treatment of scaring his own face. We don't go deeper to this example, and just quoting the other example. Please, Remo, if we can change our tableau. And in this second point, as we see, we are speaking about traces erased towards new track. This is a very quick panorama about a huge artist group that made amazing works of art. They are called Janet Jansa, and to resume their work, we can just say that the most important act political, social, and of course semiotic action that they did. It was in 2007 changed their name, all their name. They are from Slovenia, Italy, and Croatia, and they changed their name. So as reverberation of the sentence, as a mnemonic stabilization of the self, they spend a few times, for example, memorizing and performing their new name in a high voice. So they with this act um, and maintaining the compactness of the body and the face, but they change their name in this very meaningful artistic act. So I think that we can go deeper in the first example. Thank you very much, Remo, to go in the other. Yes, thank you. So here we are speaking about tracing emanating from the face. The body in movement constitutes itself in a deictical marked path, and therefore at least path is recorded from traces. So from it derives the first type of emanation in a sort of enunciation in which the narration of the trace runs along opposite routes. Opposite, no? In this case mentioned, the trace is contextualized within an aspirational path projected into the future, and the predictive argument underlying it is a discovery rather than a finding. The mode of existence of the new constitute subject is an inventive simulacrum actualized and projective. It means an artificial phase. Traces have always been an important tool, not only in establishing in contract, albeit a provisional one, with mixing texts, but also in setting up possible paths on the basis of conjectural similarities. In some culture, the reading become a kind of science of art. For example, Patricia Magli in his wonderful book speak about rastreadores mentioned in Borges, and the art of Chiafa, that means follow, the art of following the track. But in our case, we have the artist Heather Dewey Harbour that work with traces of as work of art using hair, cigarettes, chewing gum that she take off from the street, and then through programs she builds 3D faces through the DNA found in this object, characterized by the interpenetration between new media and human psychological nature. Her proposal questioned the awareness of production emanating from material which, read backwards, can venture into the rewriting of new text. The frontier between biomolecular and indifferent modulation, one's own and the other spatiality, the intimate and the contextual body blur but still perpetuate. The physical delimitation, which so clear distinguish between ipseity, or means ownness, and otherness, fades away, giving rise to a continuous echo, a constant diffuse mnemonic trace which interacts with the environment. It may simply merge with it, or instead be considered writing and thus be reinterpreted and made pertinent. So I can follow a few minutes more, or maybe I just can almost stop over here, showing this example that suggest through these steps, she collect and then extract DNA and then analyze it computationally through genomic research and then parameterize 3D face based on these traces, and she print finally in a 3D printing machine. So she said initially it was like a project, but she found many inspiration also through the other system that are more and more common in the actuality. For example, there are applications like a Parabon snapshot that elaborates specific personality by exclusion and predict physical characteristics include skin pigmentation, eye and hair color, face morphology, sex, and genomic ancestry, and identify distant familial relationship between sample. So the trace emanating from the face is an indication of what has been an organic remnant of a passage that has taken place, whose sign, albeit ephemeral, are installed in a material that preserved them. But then the reading of that is cultural and, in this case, algorithmical programmation. Okay, following and final steps, quoting Umberto Eco, we say the naive interpreter reads every projection as an imprint. For example, as a direct transformation from the properties of a real thing, whereas projection is always the result of transformative convention, whereby certain traces on a surface are stimuli that prompt one to transform backwards and postulate a type of content where in fact there is only one occurrence of expression. Thus, it is possible to project from nothing or from context to which no reference correspond. So this is always combinatorial positioning that does not appeal to a precise codification, precise codifying rules, but rather leverage the continuous performative possibility of form and track. One click more to say thank you to everybody.